Okay, it's going now. Hey, welcome to Lead Like You Mean It, people. Today we have something very interesting and I'm very grateful for. Today we actually celebrate our first anniversary of Lead Like You Mean It, people. And I'm Carla Coates. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the first episode of the second year. But before we get started, I'd like to celebrate this special occasion. And it is special because I just never thought about it until you guys know Connie, the producer. I always say she's the brains behind this. When we started talking about how to celebrate our first year, she came up with this beautiful graphic. And I said, wow, this is incredible. One complete year of Lead Like You Mean It, people. Look at all the fabulous faces. This is fantastic. So over the past year, we've shared 22 episodes welcoming visionaries, leaders, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs, financial professionals, public servants, and experts from many different walks of life. Every guest has brought unique experiences and perspectives, but they've all shared something in common: a commitment to purpose, passion, service, and most importantly, people. To every guest who has joined us this past year, I thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your leadership, your stories, and your heart. You've helped educate, encourage, and inspire leaders across industries, and this show is stronger because of you. I'd like to take a special thank you, also a special moment to thank Miss Carol Boston. She was my business coach. And from my heart, I said to Carol, you know what? I've been thinking about starting a podcast. And I actually thought about it for probably over a year. And she said, you should do it. And then that small encouragement helped to propel and help to execute what we have today over a year. So I thank you to Carol Boston forever for simply supporting me and something that I wanted to do. So Carol Boston, thank you. Thank you for your support. And I have to say thank you to Connie. She is, again, the brains behind Lead Like You Mean It, people. Let me slap the table. The brains behind Lead Like You Mean It, people. She's done a fabulous job. She takes care of everything. And I tell you all time and time again, Carla just shows up. So, Connie, thank you so much. Thank you for sticking with me. And I think we have accomplished far more than we thought we could in the past. Also, I like to honor Miss Deborah Owens. Miss Owens, she was on one of our October podcasts, and she was just a fabulous woman. She passed away at the beginning of the year, and that shows you what type of woman she was. That even though she was going through cancer treatments, she was going through so much. In October, she said, okay, let's do this. And she supported me. So in honoring her, she had an incredible legacy. And she was to many as America's wealth coach. And of course, as some of you know, she left behind her wonderful husband, Terry, and their two children. And I want to just take a second to honor her. And Deborah was the former vice president of Fidelity Investments and founder of Wealthy You, where she empowered thousands of women to become confident investors and build lasting financial security. Through her teaching and her best-selling book, Wealth Secrets, which I read, she transformed the way women approach wealth and financial independence. I also had the privilege of being a part of Wealthy You community and being really coached directly from Deborah Owens. And it was an experience firsthand. I appreciate her generosity, her encouragement, and her commitment to helping not only me, but helping others, especially with empowering women to succeed. So today we remember Deborah and honor her legacy, and we thank her for the lives that she has changed. Today's episode, as we celebrate 1 year of conversations about leadership, service, and purpose, today's conversation is especially meaningful. Leadership isn't only about the impact we make today, it's also about the legacy we leave behind. That includes our families, our communities, and the financial decisions that shape our future generations. Today, we welcome Levar Hewlett. You guys know that I tend to mess up names, but I said his name correctly. But if I didn't, Levar, let me know. I'm over to be corrected. Levar is principal of wealth strategies at Bedrock Financial Solutions, powered by Integrity Marketing Group, with more than 15 years of investment experience spanning public and private markets. Levar helps family and business owners protect their assets, prepare for retirement, and build generational wealth through thoughtful financial strategies. Drawing on a global investment background, advanced degrees in finance and real estate from Johns Hopkins University, Levar combines technical expertise with a passion for helping clients make confident, long-term financial decisions. Levar, welcome to Lead Like You Mean It, people.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Miss Coates, for having me.
Absolutely. Oh, please call me Carla.
Carla.
Okay, did
Pleasure
I
to
say
be
your
here.
name correctly?
Yes, you did. Absolutely. So kudos to that.
I tell you, that's wonderful. So, Levar, before we get into the questions, what would you like the viewers to know about your business?
Yeah, so pretty much Bedrock Financial Solutions. We work with individuals, business owners, nonprofit organizations, and really honestly helping them plan and strategize for their financial goals. We like to take a educational approach first, and then really honestly dive into the strategy second, and then really honestly kind of work with them along with their other financial teams, because we obviously understand that people have CPAs and whatnot, to really honestly help them get to where they want to be at in the long term, right? So we just kind of look at ourselves as a complementary division or bucket of their financial strategy, and really honestly just wanting them to succeed, and they can come to us for anything regarding that. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you work with leaders and business owners, what financial challenges do you see most often, even among people who are highly successful?
Yeah, so I would say that the biggest challenge that we see with people who are successful is that they're very good at creating income, but they don't necessarily have the strategy for protecting and preserving that wealth or that income that they're creating. And so really honestly, many business owners and executives, they spend years focusing on growing their career, which is what they should be doing. But eventually we see that the questions will ultimately change, right? It's no longer about, how do I earn more, but it's more about how do I protect what I've built? How do I reduce unnecessary exposure, for an example, like to taxes, or how do I prepare for retirement well before it actually happens? And then ultimately, how do I leave my family or my business or my business partners in a better position than where we initially started? So, we found that really honestly, earning wealth is a skill, but protecting it and preserving it and transferring it wisely, that's kind of where the strategy and approach kind of comes in. So that's what we specialize in doing.
So you actually had that happen to you in a way, like you said, you fell into it. So tell us that transition. So when your mom left you finances and you
Yeah.
decide to go into the trucking industry. I mean, that just piques my interest so much. Because I'm thinking all of you own a financial business, but yet at the same time, a trucking business.
Yeah. So like I said, that's something I just fell into, right? My background has been finance, for 15 plus years, and that's obviously what I'm comfortable. That's what my expertise is in.
Mm-hmm.
But I lost my mom 2 years ago to cancer, and
Oh,
so obviously, she had an insurance policy, right?
yeah.
And I could have easily took that money and really honestly put it into the markets, right, and do what I do best. But if I was
Yeah.
scared, I was genuinely scared to lose a single cent of
Wow.
that money, because that was, to me, that represented, that was a value, right, that a company had put onto my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was this: I was scared to lose a single cent, so I wanted to grow it. I wanted to put it into something that was long standing and that would be around for some time. And
Oh, wow.
I understand the markets. Markets, they go up, they go down.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, I'm going to start a trucking company, right? I'd done some research, and I ended up getting some mentors and whatnot. But I looked at it in the sense of, hey, what is something that could be recession proof, right? Whatever could be recession proof, I felt that would be long standing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, people are always going to need transportation. So I started off with one truck, and it just kind of grew from there. So now my trucks do across country, whatnot. But the company's name is DDW Trucking and Hauling, and that's actually the initials of my mother.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so
Oh,
the
that's
first truck
special.
is named Diane as well. So
Oh, wow. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic because as you were speaking, I thought about driving to see my brother and my sister-in-law. They live in central Pennsylvania. And as I'm growing up, what is it, 270 to 70?
Hmm.
And I see all these trucks, and at one point you're in the middle of nowhere, but yet you still see all the tractor trailers. And as we go around the mountain, I start arguing with them, hey, 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 make sure you stay in your lane. But they're still moving along. So you're right. It's incredible. I never thought about a trucking business being recession proof.
Yeah, people are going to always need transportation now, and obviously, we've seen, due to the economy and whatnot,
Yeah.
due to the Middle Eastern war and whatnot, Iranian U.S. war. I think obviously we've seen increase in prices and whatnot, which is all in terms of fuel and housing and just cost of living has been increasing, and so that's something that we also have to factor in. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
factor that in, right, with my clients and their strategy. But then I also have to factor in, the increased costs, right, within my trucking company as well.
Yes.
So it kind of all blends together for me, right? So
Yeah.
it's quite interesting, and that's kind of how I like it.
So I see LeVar smiling a lot as you speak about the trucking company.
Of
What's
course.
what's behind that?
I mean, like what's behind that is simple. It's a representation, for one, right, of being able to take something from, concept, right, from a
Mhm,
thought,
mhm.
right, to proof of concept, and then, um, having a business that's profitable and has been sustainable, right? But the reason why I smile is because that's a representation of my mom's legacy,
Oh,
right?
beautiful.
So it's something that's continuing to thrive. Yeah, sure, we have our ups and downs, but like I said, we're still here. We've persevered through some pretty tough times, and that's just a testament exactly what my mom did, right? So that's why I
Mm,
smile in
all
regards to
right.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful. So also you help clients think beyond today's finances and focus on long-term wealth. What's the biggest mindset shift that people need to make when planning for the future?
Yeah, so I would say that, the biggest mindset shift is this. What we're seeing, people will tend to increase their income and increase their wealth, but
Mhm,
also people will tend to, ultimately increase their expenses as well, right? And so, that's something that when you are trying to plan for the future, um, I wouldn't necessarily say living below your means, but don't fall into the trap of saying, hey, I'm making more money or I have more wealth. Let me increase my expenses,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let me increase, materialistic things, things that don't necessarily add value to your legacy, things that don't actually put your family in a better place. Look, at the end of the day, as I tell my clients, you work hard, yes, play hard, but be mindful of the legacy that you're trying to build and preserve. And so that really honestly starts with having that well-disciplined approach and saying, hey, every dollar that I have, it has a job, right? And is that job what being completed? And two, at the end, can I evaluate that based upon like where I am for my financial goals?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty powerful. Every dollar has, pardon me, every dollar has a job.
Mhm.
That's something I'm going to remember. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. I believe I've heard other people, pardon me, talk about every dollar has its place. But I appreciate the fact because you think of a job, you have to work it in order for just a career, in order for you to progress further. So if you think about that with your money, it should progress and still instead of remaining in the same place. So I often think about leaders or even just people in their career, in their life, they tend to get stuck. So if we focus on something as simple as every dollar has a job, it should progress, and which means it's successful. I don't know. I had to talk that out loud.
I think you did a great job. I think for you to be able to take that in and be able to process that and ultimately being able to say, hey, this is this may be an improved way of thinking.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things I really want to get what people on this call to kind of get out of
Mm-hmm.
is that. So from now on, whenever you go and spend that dollar, right, is there something that you could be doing better with it, right?
Yeah.
Is it something that you could be doing to put yourself in a better situation, your family in a better situation, and weigh it from there.
Mm-hmm. So, what are some common mistakes that can quietly derail someone's long-term financial goals? And give me something that's specific.
Yeah, so I would say that the biggest mistake that I see is that people who understand things like investing or allocating their funds to something that's going to produce additional value, but they may not necessarily uh, they'll have a bunch of financial products, but
Mm-hmm.
they won't have an overall strategy. So, they may have retirement accounts, they may have insurance policies or, various investment accounts, but there's no coordinated approach that kind of ties those things together. So another, common mistake is that people underestimate time, right? They take too long to start planning for their financial future. Time is one of the greatest assets that we have, right? And it's finite, right? So being able to have time and for your strategies to work together, that's another mistake that I typically see. And to my previous statement, lifestyle inflation is another. It's a really big thing, believe it or not.
Yeah.
As income grows, spending often grows along with it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And, as I travel and traveling, I mean, in this case, driving, I noticed in the DMV area where if someone is successful, let's say financially successful, um, the cars
Mm,
change.
absolutely.
But yet, I've driven through other areas that are prosperous, and yet the cars tend to remain the same. What impact does culture have with finances and building your legacy?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I want to default to an old saying that we've probably all heard of is keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's, that's what it is. I think ultimately, um, now you think about it, we're in a time with social media,
Hmm.
and people are able to observe lifestyles from their phone, and that's commercials,
Hmm.
TV and whatnot. So we're basically engulfed in um, just social platforms that essentially influence our thought, and that thought, right, is ultimately will drive decision and drive action, right? It's almost similar to someone who, when you're sitting down watching TV and you see like a commercial for some food, you may not even be thinking about, going to that restaurant or whatnot and getting that food, but you're seeing, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna order that.
Yeah.
And so when we see, people in kind of, um, I guess engulfing themselves in social media, well, we see that, hey, people get exposed to what could be, and
Hmm.
that's what they want. Delayed gratification goes out the window. Financial planning goes out the window, and it's like, hey, let's satisfy this dopamine hit immediately.
Mm.
And so, to your point, in terms of seeing, you may be in one area and see, um, people who maybe have older cars. Someone could be still driving, a 1995 Subaru, right?
Yeah.
But and they're a millionaire, right? They're a
Hmm.
multimillionaire. You
Hmm.
wouldn't even know it. But then you see people who maybe drive in luxury cars, and they're broke,
Yeah.
right? Or they don't have a financial strategy. I think that really, honestly, uh, comes down to a lot of different things, including, right, the information that was given to them by previous generations, which
Mm.
once again, it brings back the importance of, um, you know, having like leadership doesn't extend, or sorry, doesn't just stop in a corporate or an organizational setting. It extends to your family,
Yeah.
right? It extends to being a steward of the resources that you have and instilling wisdom, financial wisdom, and education and literacy into generations that come after you.
So for families,
Mhm,
as far as regarding you and your wife and your children, specifically with you and your wife, I know you have the trucking company.
mhm.
Um, but what are some practical things that you and your wife have implemented into your lives to be able to support your children in the years to come?
Yeah. So ultimately, for me, kind of having the background that I have, and being fortunate enough to get that in terms of understanding investments,
Mhm.
understanding saving, whatnot. And but believe it or not, my wife actually is the one that runs the household as it relates to managing the money, which is
Mhm.
crazy. People think, oh, well, you're you know the financial consultant, you're the one who deals with money and investments and help. I do, but I actually don't manage the household money. My wife does, right?
Mhm.
So, and then really honestly, setting down, my kids have told my kids early on about um, about the power of a dollar, about saving. It's one of those things where we instill, hey, my kids do chores, they earn money, but we set aside a certain amount for saving, right? 10%. And then, we allocate it, for other things, but they're always 10% is getting saved out of
Mhm.
anything that they make, right? And so in order for us to instill that in them, we're having to implement that ourselves, right? Because you don't want to be hypocritical, right? So you
Yeah.
gotta, so a lot of budgeting, sitting down, saying, hey, well, where are we at? What's coming in? What's going out? Um, and then before we do anything, right? Anything that involves lifestyle, it's, hey, let's take care of the household stuff first. Let's then invest, and then make sure the kids are good, and then deal with the lifestyle. So that's kind of our approach, right? Very high level, but that's kind
Mhm.
of that's kind of the pathway that we take when we're dealing
Okay.
with money.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, well, It makes sense if your wife is caring for the home. It totally makes sense.
It does,
So,
man. She's really good at it too.
and what's her name?
Memory.
Memory. Hey,
Yeah.
let's give kudos to Memory.
Thank
So
you.
before we continue, if you're a leader who's wondering why your impact isn't always recognized, I invite you to take my hidden promotions assessment. It will help you identify the unseen habits that may be keeping you from your next opportunity and give you practical insight into leading with greater confidence and visibility. You can assess the assessment using the link in today's comments and description. And if you're looking to continue your leadership journey, my next workshop is coming later this summer. So let's stay connected with the details. So, Levar, a couple more questions. This went fast.
Did it?
It went fast. We've got about 5 or 10 more minutes. It went
Okay.
fast. I'm just looking at the time. Can you share a lesson you've learned personally or professionally that's changed the way you think about money, leadership, or long-term planning?
Yeah, I would say the biggest lesson that I've learned being in this business is this: it's not really about money; it's about people. Um, and so I would say that early on in my career, I was driven by understanding numbers. I'm a numbers guy, and so but over time, I realized that numbers are only really honestly a part of the equation, so to
Yeah.
speak. And behind financial decisions, every decision financially is someone's family, someone's business, someone's retirement, something that they've spent decades, working hard and building. And so that realization kind of changed how I approach engagement with my clients, right? So today I spend a lot more time listening and then talking and helping them understand their goals and values and what's important to them, and then we kind of talk about strategy. So
Mm.
people aren't simply looking for financial solutions; they're kind of looking more so for clarity and confidence and a peace of mind.
Mm.
So the markets are have been very challenging. A lot of people have been kind of concerned.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? I had to go back to, as you were talking, I had to go back to, okay, the actually, it's making me think of something else, but having a job for your money, it makes me think of also the mind shift that you mentioned earlier. And then we talked about culture, how they pull it in. But just thinking about how if you plan for your money, it will take care of you in your end. So that goes along with my mantra. If you take care of the people will take care of the mission. And it's the same thing on the financial side. So you see a lot of times, LeVar, I've got to think things out. I got to talk
I'm right.
it
I'm
through.
right there. I'm right there with you. You do a better job at it than I do in terms of thinking it out on the fly. But yeah, absolutely. I get it.
Yeah, I so appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just that's I'm telling you that's just going to stick with me for the next few weeks. Just a part of going back a few minutes about your money as a job. And
Yeah.
in order for it to be successful, well, one thing you need to be able to contact LeVar, but in order for it to be successful as a job, and you need to plan for it and needs to be able to have a destination to take care of you in the years to come, and also to build that legacy. So let me ask you another question.
Mhm.
When people hear the word legacy, they often think about money. They either think about money and sometimes property. At least that's on my side. How do you define legacy, and why is it so much more than finances?
So you you get some really good questions here. Um, I would say to me, legacy is about the impact, right?
Mm,
It's about the impact of kind of what you leave behind. Um, but and it's not just about money,
yeah.
right? So money is simply a tool that you could ultimately see as a way to extend that impact.
Mm-hmm.
And legacy is ultimately about the values that, you're passing down, the opportunities that are being created, and really honestly helping set that next generation up, right? So I always like to say my goal in life is to make sure that my kids do not start from zero, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so although, like I said, my parents did the best that they could,
Yeah.
um, it was essentially I started from zero, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point that needs to, I think people in general, right? It doesn't matter your background. I think that should be the ultimate goal, is to make sure that the next generation, you're doing something now that sets the next generation up. So, um, you know, and then obviously having a thought, like a well thought out financial strategy, that really honestly, like I said, it stands the test of time, and it's going to remain in place and intact in those lessons,
Mm-hmm.
long after with your family, long after you're gone. So, the greatest inheritance that you could obviously leave someone, um, isn't money, but it's the information and the wisdom that you kind of instill within them during that time that you're here.
Mm.
So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Levar, we are out of time, sir. Can you
Pleasure.
please let people know how they can contact you? And Connie will also place it in the comment section
Yeah,
as
absolutely,
well.
absolutely. Obviously, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's my first and last name. My company website is Bedrock Financial Solutions.us, and obviously on Instagram at Bedrock Financial Solutions.
And let's add this.
Yeah.
Once they have or as they are in preparation for their first meeting with you, what should they really deliver to you in advance? Either deliver or have the mindset of this is what I need to provide Levar with.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that planning ahead, right? So I would say set aside an hour out of your day, if you can, 30 minutes to an hour, and just review, kind of, what your retirement accounts, any policies, insurance policies, any investment accounts, um, legal documents, just review what you owe, things that should do like a financial assessment, right? And just, obviously we'll work with you in the kind of, flesh that out, but it's more about, hey, you coming to the conversation with an idea of at least a direction that you're wanting to go in, right? So I would just say, sum it up, do a very high level, right, very high level financial overview of where you are currently and where
All
you want
right.
to go.
Thank you, Levar.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I tell you all real quick. So this is how Levar and I met. It was over LinkedIn. And he just said, hey, it was a very pleasant reach out. Hey, on LinkedIn, hey, if we can just connect. And I think we were supposed to have a 15-minute conversation.
Yeah.
And didn't it go over an hour?
Yeah, it turned in, yeah, which is good. I appreciate you for allowing me to have that opportunity to speak with you. Because LinkedIn is tricky because, when I connect with people on LinkedIn, I want to know who's in my network, right?
Yeah.
I want to have a meaningful
Yes.
conversation with them and just see, hey, how do we build this? What is it that they're working on? How can I help? How do we, like I said, how do we really continue to build this relationship? And you'll be surprised, man, how some people, they don't, um, they don't tend to feel the same way. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, well, why even be on LinkedIn if you're not going to network? So yeah, so kudos to you for being open to sit down and have a conversation and look at where it's led us, right? So you
Yes.
just never know, right?
Yes. And that's because I heard about your story with you and your wife and raising your children, the legacy that your mom left behind and your business. And I think it was about 20 minutes into the conversation. Oh, he needs to be on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to come and, speak and hopefully share some valuable information. Hopefully your audience got some value out of it.
absolutely. Absolutely. But thank you, Levar.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine.
And until next time, we'll see you in 2 weeks on Lead Like You Mean It, people. Levar and I are out. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.